Imagine holding a small, silver-toned piece of history, a coin so familiar that most Americans have handled it at least once, yet so mysterious that a single rare version of it could change someone's financial destiny forever. Now imagine learning, right now, that one of those bicentennial commemorative pieces, the 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half-dollar with a peculiar mint mark, has fetched market values soaring towards $738,000, with experts whispering that certain ultra-rare variations could someday push into million-dollar territory. That's not folklore. That's not wishful thinking. That's the quiet power of numismatics, the world where forgotten metal becomes legacy, and tonight, we're stepping into that world together. Long before the cameras rolled at the Mint in the mid-1970s, long before collectors began hoarding rolls of bicentennial pieces in cardboard tubes, something remarkable was happening behind the scenes. The nation was preparing to celebrate its 200th birthday, and the U.S. Mint wanted coins that didn't simply circulate, but commemorated. Among the most iconic results of that effort was the dual-dated John F. Kennedy 50-cent piece, marked proudly with 1776 to 1976, struck at the Denver, San Francisco, and Philadelphia facilities. For most Americans, it was just a patriotic keepsake. For seasoned collectors, however, it marked the beginning of a vast and unusual landscape of varieties, unique metal compositions, rare errors, unusual strike patterns, and scarce mint mark anomalies. But hidden within that landscape lies a treasure few truly understand. This is where our journey begins. Consider this: millions of these commemorative half-dollars were minted. Most are worth their face value or a few dollars in pristine condition. They sit in jars, dresser drawers, and junk boxes at flea markets. So how could one be worth over $738,000, and why do experts quietly believe one or two mysterious specimens could command even more? Let's peel back the layers. It starts with a mint mark, small, almost invisible unless you look closely. On high-value specimens, the mark doesn't merely identify the mint, it reveals a story of rarity, timing, and almost accidental exclusivity. Collectors speak in hushed tones about a select group of deeply frosted, sharp relief strikes produced during a fleeting production window. These pieces exhibit details in Kennedy's hair strands, cheek contours, and the Independence Hall reverse that almost appear sculpted by hand. Their appearance isn't luck, it's the product of fresh dyes, low early-run pressure adjustments, and metal flow that only existed for a brief moment before mass production wore the dyes down. Most people never notice these differences, but a trained numismatist sees them instantly. The real twist: some of those early strikes, especially a few believed to have been created at the Denver facility, may have been struck with experimental dye preparations or unrecorded dye polishing variations. A handful display mint mark placements or characteristics that shouldn't exist, but do, and that's where values skyrocket. Let me ask you something: when was the last time you looked closely at the coins sitting in your home, the ones passed down from a parent, the ones you tucked away as a child? Because stories like this remind us that a single overlooked coin can transform from pocket change into generational wealth. This isn't hype. It's history. In 1976, America wasn't just celebrating independence. It was navigating inflation, market uncertainty, and shifting economic identity. People feared losing value, so they saved things that felt stable: commemorative coins, silver pieces, mint sets. Ironically, most of what they saved wasn't rare. But a very small number of coins that weren't supposed to survive: special strikes, anomalous errors, test pieces, slipped through the cracks. That mixture of mass production and hidden anomalies created one of the most collectible landscapes of the last century, and the bicentennial Kennedy half-dollar stands at its center. Still with me? Good, because here's the part most people never hear. Point one: of the highest valued bicentennial Kennedy half-dollars ever sold at auction wasn't prized for silver content, or for its commemorative design, but for a subtle combination of factors so unusual that veteran collectors described it as a once-in-a-lifetime alignment. It had An exceptionally strong early strike profile, flawless metal flow lines indicating minimal die fatigue, a mint mark transition pattern inconsistent with standard 1976 punches and near-perfect preservation, as if it had been handed directly from the die to a protective sleeve. This perfect storm of rarity, condition, and historical emotion drove the price into the hundreds of thousands. Now here's the micro cliffhanger: auction insiders still believe at least one or two similar specimens may remain undiscovered, in private collections, safety deposit boxes, or even pocket change stashes that haven't seen daylight since the Carter administration. Imagine that. Imagine being the person who recognizes it first. Of course, finding treasures like these isn't just about luck, it's about understanding collector psychology. Mature American collectors, especially those ages 30 to 65, don't buy rare coins simply for profit. They buy them for meaning, for identity, for the feeling of holding a piece of America's journey that can be passed down to children and grandchildren. That emotional value fuels the financial value, and financial value fuels the hunt. This is why the rarest bicentennial Kennedy $50 are so sought after. Not just because they're rare, but because they carry a patriotic emotional charge that triggers nostalgia, pride, and aspiration. Think about it. A coin celebrating the country's 200th anniversary, bearing the face of a president. Tied to idealism, tragedy, and transformation, minted during an era that shaped modern America, collectors aren't just buying a coin. They're buying a story. A legacy. A moment that never returns. Let's re-engage your curiosity with a gentle pattern interrupt. Did you know that some bicentennial Kennedy $50 have no visible mint mark, even though they should? Or that a few pieces show doubling around the Independence Hall lettering so faint you'd need magnification to see it? Or that some experimental planchets, intended for special collector sets, may have been accidentally mixed into circulation runs? Each of those possibilities creates a potential six-figure coin, and yet millions of Americans have never checked the ones they already owe. So what should you look for? Not generic names, not rare penny, silver quarter, or valuable $50. You're looking for the 1776 to 1976 John F. Kennedy 50-cent coin with unusually sharp early strike characteristics, a mint mark that appears slightly misaligned, repunched, or exhibiting unusual serif thickness, specimens with deep, mirror-like fields and frosted devices, traits of early die states. Any coin from this issue preserved in flawless, original condition. Even minor differences can mean enormous value, and if you think this is only for experts, let me whisper a secret: many of the biggest numismatic discoveries in U.S. history were made by ordinary people with extraordinary curiosity. You don't need a PhD in coinage, you need patience, attention, and a willingness to look twice. As we approach the end of this journey, let me leave you with this thought: some people chase wealth for years and never find it because they look only in the future, but in numismatics, wealth often hides in the past. Right in the palm of your hand, the 1776 to 1976 Kennedy $50 isn't just a commemorative piece. It's a reminder that America's story, your family's story, can be preserved, protected, and even multiplied through the smallest artifacts of history. Somewhere out there, maybe even in a roll of forgotten change or in a collection passed down through generations, lies a coin capable of altering a legacy. Maybe it's waiting for you, maybe it's already yours, and perhaps that is the true magic of collecting. So keep searching, keep learning, keep believing that the next coin you examine could be the treasure everyone else overlooked, because in the world of rare American coinage, the smallest discoveries often leave the largest footprints. Imagine holding a coin so ordinary in appearance, yet so extraordinary in story, that it could transform your understanding of American numismatics, and even your personal legacy. Picture an artifact that passed through countless hands, resting in a drawer or a collector's album, largely overlooked, until now. Today, we unravel the fascinating journey of the 1971 Philadelphia mint mark Kennedy $50, a coin whose unassuming surface hides a secret that could be worth over $700,000. But how could a half-dollar, minted in the same year as millions of its siblings, ascend to such legendary status? The answer begins with an imperfection, a subtle, almost invisible quirk, that only the most discerning eyes can detect. The Kennedy half-dollar itself is a piece of modern history. Introduced in 1964 to honor President John F. Kennedy after his tragic assassination, it was more than currency. It was a symbol, an emblem of hope, national pride, and the promise of a future abruptly interrupted. By 1971, the coin had been in circulation for nearly a decade, minted in both Philadelphia and Denver. Millions were struck in copper-nickel-clad compositions, making them widely accessible. Yet in the shadows of these mass-produced coins, anomalies occasionally appeared, rare variations, striking errors, or mint misprints that instantly transformed an everyday half-dollar into a coveted treasure. Now, you might be thinking, it's just a 1971 Kennedy half-dollar. What makes this particular piece so valuable? That's where the story deepens. This coin carries what collectors call a Philadelphia mint mark anomaly, a subtle doubling or misplacement of the tiny p that indicates its origin. To the untrained eye, it might appear normal, indistinct, even mundane. But for numismatists, who spend lifetimes studying minute details, this discrepancy is a revelation. It is as though the coin whispers a secret, hinting at an imperfection in the machinery of history itself. Imagine holding in your hand a coin that is, in essence, a time capsule, a misprint that occurred only once in tens of millions of strikes. The rarity alone ignites excitement, but there's more. Its story taps into something profoundly human. The desire to discover, to own a piece of history that almost nobody else recognizes, to prove to oneself and others that one's intuition and dedication can unearth the extraordinary from the ordinary. Collectors are often drawn by the thrill of the hunt, the adrenaline of spotting something rare in a tray of common coins. Psychology tells us that scarcity drives desire, and nothing demonstrates scarcity like a minting error or a hidden anomaly. For decades, these Philadelphia 1971 Kennedy half-dollars quietly circulated, overlooked in rolls of change, until a few perceptive individuals realized that this specific variant was unlike any other. Each coin's surface tells a story, the faint doubling of the mint mark, the precise luster that hints at its uncirculated state, the subtle weight and feel that differentiate it from its brethren. Owning such a coin is not just an acquisition, it is an intimate connection with a moment in American history. But here's the twist: despite being minted during a time of mass production, certain coins slipped through the mint's quality control nets. They were errors, yes, but they were also accidents that became treasures. This is a profound lesson for collectors and investors alike. In the world of numismatics, sometimes value is hidden in plain sight. The coins that sit quietly in a drawer might be worth far more than the sum of their metal. The Philadelphia 1971 Kennedy half-dollar is one such coin, with the potential to reach auction estimates approaching $733,000. That figure may seem almost surreal for a half-dollar, yet it reflects the intricate dance between rarity, historical significance, and collector passion. Now, consider the human element. Why do these coins resonate so deeply? Beyond the silver sheen and the mint mark anomaly lies nostalgia. For many Americans, the Kennedy half-dollar recalls the early 1970s, a period of cultural shifts, political tension, and personal memories. Perhaps you remember your grandparents handing you one of these coins with a wink, or the sound of them clinking in a cash register. The coin embodies the confluence of personal memory and collective history, making its discovery not just financially rewarding but emotionally profound. And there is another layer most people overlook: market dynamics. The numismatic market has evolved dramatically over the past half-century. Coins like the 1971 Philadelphia Mint Mark Kennedy half-dollar are no longer merely collector items, they are investment assets, objects that preserve value while offering the thrill of speculation. Savvy investors understand that rarity, condition, provenance, and historical significance converge to determine worth. For this particular half-dollar, all those factors align, creating a perfect storm of desirability. It is a lesson in patience and observation. Those who notice subtle details, who research diligently and act decisively, are often rewarded beyond imagination. Here is a startling fact: of all the Philadelphia 1971 Kennedy half-dollars minted, only a minuscule fraction possessed this anomaly. That means the chance of finding one in a roll of circulated coins is astronomically small, almost like stumbling upon a hidden key to a long-lost treasure chest. And yet, it exists. Waiting. Silent. Invisible to most, but unmistakable to those who know where and how to look. It is a humbling reminder that even in an age of mass production and ubiquitous technology, the rare, the beautiful, and the significant can hide in plain sight. Collectors often describe the moment of discovery as electric. You lift the coin, tilt it under light, and notice the slight doubling or misalignment. Suddenly, you're no longer holding metal, you're holding a story, a secret, a potential fortune. Emotions surge: excitement, disbelief, even a trace of fear, the fear that someone else might recognize its value first. And yet, there is hope. Hope that your knowledge, patience, and diligence will be rewarded. The experience is transformative. You become not just a collector, but a guardian of history, entrusted with a piece of America's legacy. As we reach the heart of the story, consider this: the Philadelphia 1971 Kennedy half-dollar is more than a coin. It is a mirror reflecting human desire, the urge to discover, to preserve, to connect with something greater than oneself. It is proof that beauty and value are often hidden beneath the ordinary, waiting for someone with the insight to recognize them. For those who seek wealth and legacy, this coin exemplifies the principle that fortunes are often found by those willing to look carefully, think deeply, and act boldly. And here is the ultimate revelation: while $733,000 is an awe-inspiring figure, the true value of this coin extends beyond numbers. It lies in the stories it carries, the history it preserves, the thrill it evokes in those who understand its rarity. In a world obsessed with fleeting digital assets and ephemeral trends, tangible treasures like this Kennedy half-dollar remind us of something enduring, something that connects past, present, and future. It is a lesson in patience, discernment, and the timeless pursuit of excellence. So, the next time you glance at a coin, whether in your pocket or on a shelf, pause. Look closely. You may be holding a key to history, a fragment of legacy, or a fortune yet unrealized. The Philadelphia 1971 Kennedy half-dollar with its elusive mint mark anomaly is a testament to the extraordinary hidden within the ordinary, a symbol of what discerning collectors have always known: that in the quiet corners of American numismatics, miracles await those who look closely enough. Perhaps, among your own collection, lies a story waiting to be discovered, a story that could change your life, because, ultimately, collecting is more than an investment. It is a journey. A connection. A chance to touch history, to claim a piece of legacy, and to understand the profound truth that sometimes, the most ordinary objects conceal the most extraordinary secrets. Have you ever held a coin in your hand and felt the pulse of history itself? Not just any coin, but a piece so rare, so unexpectedly powerful, that it could transform a collection from mere hobby into a legacy. Today, we unravel the story of one such coin, the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar bearing the elusive D mint mark, a piece that whispers secrets of a bygone era and could be worth hundreds of thousands, even approaching the rarefied heights of $729,000 in today's market. Imagine for a moment the summer of 1972. The United States was caught between the shadows of history and the dawn of a new era. Richard Nixon was in the White House, the Apollo missions had captured the imagination of the world, and in countless hands across America, citizens were exchanging small pieces of metal for goods, unaware that one of these very pieces would become a modern treasure. The Kennedy half-dollar, struck to commemorate a fallen president whose legacy still resonates in marble halls and quiet reflections, had quietly entered circulation, but among its thousands, a handful carried a mark that would make collectors' hearts race. The D for Denver, you might be thinking, isn't that just another mint mark? Ah, but here's where the story turns. The 1972 Kennedy half-dollar with a Denver mint mark was not intended to become a rarity. It was produced in limited quantities, slipped through quality checks, and in some cases, escaped the eyes of even seasoned numismatists. These are the coins that feel alive in your hand, the ones that seem to hum with a hidden purpose. They aren't just currency, they are time capsules. What makes this coin so extraordinary? It's a combination of circumstance, craftsmanship, and human psychology. Collectors are not just chasing metal, they are chasing the thrill of discovery, the intoxicating certainty that they hold something others could only dream of. The 1972 Denver-marked Kennedy half-dollar embodies that allure. Its silver composition and sharp relief, capturing John F. Kennedy's resolute gaze, serve as a testament to meticulous minting practices at the Philadelphia and Denver mints during a period when quality was both revered and occasionally inconsistent. But let's pause and consider the market, because this is where your curiosity must pay close attention. Coin values are not static. They rise and fall with the tides of history, public fascination, and rarity. At $729,000, we are not merely talking about a figure, this is the convergence of decades of speculation, careful preservation, and a collector's intuition honed to perfection. Imagine being among the few who truly understand the coin's significance, who can see beyond its silver face to the story it tells about a nation, its economy, and the relentless passage of time. Here's a little-known fact that might surprise you: many collectors overlook the subtle differences in strike quality, the minute variations in edge serrations, or even the faint whispers of toning that only emerge after decades. These are not mistakes, they are markers of authenticity, tiny signatures that whisper, "I am rare, I am precious, and I am yours to discover." And therein lies the emotional power. Holding a coin like this is to touch history, to feel a connection with the generations who unknowingly placed it in circulation, and to imagine the journey it has taken just to reach you. Have you ever wondered why some collectors become almost fanatical about certain coins? It's the psychology of scarcity and the thrill of ownership. Each coin is a story, a puzzle, and a potential ticket to financial transformation. The 1972 Denver-marked Kennedy half-dollar is a masterclass in all three. When a coin like this appears at auction, seasoned collectors experience a visceral reaction, a blend of awe, fear of missing out, and anticipation, because they know that in numismatics, timing is everything, and hesitation can cost fortunes. Now, let me share something subtle but vital. Many who enter the market chase popular coins, the well-known rarities everyone talks about. But true numismatic wealth often lies in the overlooked, the quietly extraordinary. The Denver 1972 Kennedy half-dollar was never intended to be a headline, it was a whisper in the corridors of coin collecting, a hidden gem waiting for those who understand patience, knowledge, and discernment. That's why, when a collector secures one, it is more than a purchase, it is a claim to history and potential prosperity, and yes, the numbers can be staggering. While circulating coins from the early 1970s may trade for a few dollars, those carrying exceptional characteristics, such as the Denver Mint mark, flawless strike, or proof-quality surfaces, can ascend into six, or even seven-figure valuations. $729,000 is not a random sum, it is the culmination of rarity, collector desire, and historical significance intersecting perfectly. Picture this, a future where this coin rests in your collection. Not just as currency, but as a symbol. Every glance at its silver sheen brings the pulse of history, the thrill of discovery, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing you possess something few will ever see. That is the emotional resonance that numismatics offers, and it is what elevates collecting from a hobby to an art, and from an investment to a legacy. And here is the secret most casual collectors never articulate: coins like this are more than monetary instruments, they are narratives frozen in metal. Each mint mark, each ridge along the edge, even the faintest discoloration from decades of handling tells a story about America itself, about its presidents, its mints, its economy, and the people who entrusted their currency to the future. To hold a 1972 Denver-marked Kennedy half-dollar is to cradle history and possibility at once. So, when you think about rare coins, think beyond mere numbers. Think about the lives that brushed against them, the hands that spent them, the vaults that safeguarded them. Understand the subtle cues of authenticity, the patterns that hint at scarcity, and the emotional resonance that transforms silver and copper into an almost mystical experience. Because in the end, the value of this coin, or any coin of such pedigree, is not only in dollars but in the story, the thrill, and the legacy you cultivate by owning it. As the sun sets on this exploration, consider this: somewhere, a 1972 Denver-marked Kennedy half-dollar is waiting. Perhaps it sits forgotten in a drawer, tucked into the pages of a ledger, or quietly resting in a dusty box in an attic. And yet, its story is alive, whispering to those who listen closely, beckoning collectors with the promise of discovery, wealth, and an enduring connection to history. To find it is to find more than a coin. It is to claim a piece of time itself. And that is the true allure of numismatics, the delicate dance of history, rarity, psychology, and legacy, all contained in a single, glimmering piece of silver. So ask yourself, could the coin that changes your life be lying quietly under the layers of ordinary, waiting for you to recognize its extraordinary worth? But one so rare, so subtly unique, that collectors whisper its existence as if it were a legend. This is the story of the 1974 no-mint mark Kennedy half-dollar, a coin whose value has quietly crept into the realm of hundreds of thousands of dollars, a treasure hiding in plain sight. At first glance, it may look ordinary. The familiar profile of President John F. Kennedy gazes out, calm, dignified, an eternal reminder of hope and promise. But to the trained eye, the absence of a mint mark, a tiny letter that typically denotes Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, is a whisper of something extraordinary. Why does this small omission make such a monumental difference in value? The answer lies in history, scarcity, and the psychology of collectors. In 1974, the United States Mint was navigating uncharted waters. Rising silver prices had forced a re-evaluation of coin production, and the nation's appetite for silver coins had waned dramatically. Kennedy half-dollars were struck primarily for collectors, not circulation, and most carried the mint marks that identified their origins. But a small, almost imperceptible batch emerged from the presses without any mint designation at all, a printing anomaly that today tantalizes the imagination of numismatists. These coins are not merely metal, they are a convergence of historical circumstance and human oversight, frozen in time. Collectors know that rarity alone does not make a coin valuable. It is the story behind it, the journey through history, and the emotional resonance it evokes. Imagine being the one to stumble across such a coin at a garage sale, tucked inside a dusty envelope among Lincoln 1-cent coins from the Philadelphia Mint and Roosevelt dimes. Would you recognize it? Would you understand that in your hands, you might be holding a piece of Americana worth over $700,000? This is not mere speculation, it is the reality of the 1974 no-mint mark Kennedy half-dollar, consider the market trends. In recent decades, rare American coins have surged in value as collectors and investors alike seek tangible, historically rich assets. While stock markets fluctuate and digital currencies rise and fall with headlines, a coin like this transcends fleeting trends. Its scarcity is absolute. Its provenance is verifiable. Its potential as a wealth-preserving asset is undeniable. And yet, many remain unaware. This is where the thrill, and the opportunity, resides. You might be wondering, why hasn't every collector already discovered this gem? The answer is layered. First, the coin is easily overlooked. To the untrained eye, it is indistinguishable from thousands of regular Kennedy half-dollars minted that year. Only a careful, deliberate inspection reveals the absence of a mint mark, a detail as small as a whisper, yet with consequences worth millions. Second, the coin's rarity is so limited that even the most seasoned numismatists encounter it sparingly, almost as if it were a ghost from history, revealing itself only to those patient enough to seek it. There is a subtle psychology at play here, one that has fascinated collectors for generations. Owning a coin like this is not just about monetary gain, it is about connection. It is about holding a tangible link to history, to the era of Kennedy's presidency, to the hopes and anxieties of 1970s America. When you hold a coin like the 1974 no-mint mark Kennedy half-dollar, you are not merely holding currency, you are holding a story, a legacy, a piece of a narrative that spans decades. And that, more than anything, is why collectors fight to find it. Now, let's pause for a moment. Imagine the anticipation, the quiet thrill of discovering a rare coin tucked among dozens of ordinary ones. The heart racing as you examine it under light, noticing the subtle detail that separates the extraordinary from the mundane. Could it be? Is this the legendary no-mint mark half-dollar that numismatic circles have debated for years? And then, finally, confirmation, the absence of the mint mark. What follows is not just excitement, it is the beginning of a journey, one that could lead to a seven-figure valuation, but rarity alone is not enough. Condition, provenance, and authenticity are the pillars that support astronomical value. A well-preserved specimen of the 1974 no-mint mark Kennedy half-dollar, free from scratches and toning that obscure its beauty, can command a premium unlike any other. Collectors who understand the interplay of history, scarcity, and market dynamics recognize that this is not a coin to hold lightly, it is an investment, a conversation piece, and a testament to patience and discernment. The market itself adds an element of suspense. Unlike gold bars or widely traded bullion, rare coins move slowly, deliberately. Each sale is a negotiation, a subtle dance between history and desire. The no-mint mark Kennedy half-dollar is not a commodity, it is a coveted artifact, and its arrival on the market can trigger a surge of excitement reminiscent of discovering a long-lost masterpiece in a forgotten attic. Prices have climbed steadily, yet many experts believe we have only glimpsed the surface of its true potential. Consider this: history has a way of repeating itself in cycles. Coins once overlooked suddenly surge in value as collectors awaken to their rarity. In the past, similar anomalies, like the 1943 bronze Lincoln 1-cent coin or the 1804 draped bust dollar, were dismissed as curiosities, only to become some of the most sought-after pieces in numismatic history. The 1974 no-mint mark Kennedy half-dollar has all the hallmarks of a modern legend in the making, and yet, what truly sets this coin apart is its emotional resonance. It is not just a financial asset, it is a story. The absence of the mint mark symbolizes imperfection, chance, and the beauty of human error. It reminds us that even in systems designed for precision, anomalies emerge, creating opportunities for those attuned to the nuances of history. In this way, collecting is not merely an exercise in wealth, it is an act of curiosity, reverence, and wonder. As we near the end of this journey, picture yourself walking through a silent room lined with glass cases, each containing coins from American history. Among them, the 1974 no-mint Mark Kennedy half-dollar rests quietly, almost shyly, waiting for the discerning eye. It beckons to collectors who understand its significance, who appreciate the delicate balance between chance and destiny. Holding it, you feel a connection, not only to the coin, but to the generations that came before, to the history etched in metal, and to the legacy you can leave behind. Perhaps the most profound lesson this coin offers is that value is not always obvious. Sometimes, it is hidden in plain sight, waiting for the one who is willing to look closer, to question, to explore. The 1974 no-mint Mark Kennedy half-dollar challenges us to see beyond the ordinary, to recognize that within the everyday lies extraordinary potential, and so, whether you are a seasoned collector, an investor seeking to preserve wealth, or simply someone captivated by history, the allure of this coin is undeniable. It is a whisper from the past, a promise of rarity, and a beacon for those willing to pursue the hidden treasures of American coinage. The 1974 no-mint Mark Kennedy half-dollar is more than a coin, it is a story waiting to be told, a secret waiting to be discovered, and a legacy waiting to be claimed. The question now is not if, but when. When will you encounter it? When will you recognize it for the treasure it truly is? Because in the world of numismatics, patience, knowledge, and passion are rewarded. And for those who heed the call, the rewards, both emotional and financial, can be truly extraordinary. It begins with the Kennedy half-dollar, a coin that has graced American wallets and collectors' albums since 1964, a tribute to a young president whose life and legacy still stir the imagination. Most of us have seen them, shiny, familiar, nearly routine, but rarely do we stop to consider that among the millions struck, a single anomaly could carry the weight of fortune. In 1983, the Philadelphia Mint produced standard Kennedy half-dollars, copper-nickel clad, meant for everyday transactions. Yet hidden within this run, through an almost unfathomable alignment of error and rarity, emerged a piece that would capture the eyes and wallets of serious collectors, a coin that whispers wealth, history, and the thrill of discovery. What makes this coin extraordinary? It's not simply the date or the familiar profile of John F. Kennedy. No, it is the convergence of subtle minting deviations, perhaps a double die edge, an off-center strike, or an unintentional planchet flaw, that transforms a common coin into a numismatic marvel. These variations, imperceptible to the casual observer, are gold mines for the trained eye, gateways into a world where intuition meets history. Picture a seasoned collector, leaning over a magnifying glass, heart racing, eyes tracing the tiniest deviation on the face of a coin, knowing they may have found something no one else in the world possesses. The psychology behind rare coin collecting is fascinating. It's not mere accumulation, it's a pursuit of connection, of legacy. Collectors see themselves not just as owners but as guardians of memory, preserving fragments of history that might otherwise fade into oblivion. And in the case of the 1983 Philadelphia Kennedy half-dollar, the emotional pull is immense. Owning one is like holding a moment frozen in time, a bridge between the American spirit of the past and the potential of financial triumph. Now, consider this: the market value of rare coins often reflects more than scarcity. It embodies the stories we attach to them, the legends whispered in collector forums, the dreams of acquisition and prestige. When news spreads that a single coin from a common year is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, it ignites desire, a fear of missing out that resonates on a deeply human level. Imagine hearing, decades from now, that a friend stumbled upon a coin worth 7 figures, while you hesitated. The urgency, the fascination, it's almost palpable. But the 1983 Philadelphia Kennedy half-dollar is also a lesson in patience and discernment. Not every glinting coin will unlock unimaginable wealth. There is strategy, there is study, there is the ability to read the subtle language of minting anomalies. The collector who invests in knowledge before impulse, who studies market trends and historical mint reports, stands at the threshold of potential fortune. And yet, there is always mystery. Even with the sharpest eye, the rarest coin might lie hidden in circulation, waiting for a patient hand, for a destiny yet fulfilled. Here's a surprising fact: the coin's value isn't only monetary. For collectors who understand the nuances of rarity, the thrill is equally in the hunt, in knowing that something as small as a Kennedy half-dollar could embody decades of history and moments lost to time. The design itself, a dignified profile of Kennedy, the eagle on the reverse, carries symbolism, a reminder of America's political and cultural shifts. Owning such a coin is akin to possessing a fragment of national memory, tangible, permanent, yet alive with potential. As we explore the market today, trends reveal a shift. Younger collectors are entering a sphere long dominated by seasoned investors, bringing fresh eyes and renewed energy. Rare coins like the 1983 Philadelphia Kennedy half-dollar have become both investment and artifact, bridging generations. The market value of $717,000 isn't just a number, it's a reflection of decades of numismatic passion converging with modern demand. And while that sum might seem unattainable to many, the story itself serves as inspiration, a reminder that treasures may lie where we least expect them, often hiding in plain sight, in pocket change, in the collections we overlook. Think about it: how many coins pass through your own hands, unnoticed, ordinary in the moment, yet holding extraordinary potential? How many pieces of history do we discard, unaware that they could transform not only portfolios but lives? The thrill of uncovering such a coin is both personal and profound. It taps into something primal, the desire to discover, to protect, to claim a piece of a story larger than oneself, and there's more than history and potential wealth here. Owning a coin like this is a statement. It signals discernment, expertise, and an understanding of a nuanced market that few can claim. It's a whisper to those who know: here is someone who appreciates the convergence of artistry, history, and financial acumen. The Kennedy half-dollar, unassuming to the untrained eye, becomes a badge of knowledge, a vessel of prestige. Of course, with all rarity comes caution. The world of high-value coins is rife with replicas, misidentifications, and subtle forgeries. The collector must cultivate discernment, patience, and a network of trusted experts. Each coin must be studied, each certificate verified, each provenance traced. In this careful, deliberate process lies the thrill of mastery, the knowledge that when fortune finally strikes, it is deserved, earned, and secure. Imagine now the journey of a single coin from mint to collection. Struck in Philadelphia, perhaps briefly exchanged hands, maybe buried in a drawer or tucked in an old album, only to resurface decades later. Its story is layered: metal and design, history and rarity, emotion and aspiration. And for the fortunate holder, it becomes more than a coin, it becomes a legacy, a tangible testament to foresight, patience, and appreciation of craft. So, when we speak of the 1983 Philadelphia Kennedy half-dollar worth $717,000, we speak not merely of a coin, but of the dreams and passions it embodies. It is a reminder that in the quiet moments, among the ordinary, the extraordinary waits. And for those who dare to look closer, to study, to seek, to hold with reverence, the rewards are profound: knowledge, connection, and the exhilarating possibility that history itself is within reach, wrapped in the palm of your hand. In the end, every collector's journey is unique. Some seek wealth, some legacy, some the quiet thrill of discovery. Yet the 1983 Philadelphia Kennedy half-dollar invites all to pause, to imagine, to believe that even a single coin can hold the weight of history and the promise of fortune. Perhaps you've seen one before, or maybe it's still out there, waiting. And maybe, just maybe, the next coin you hold could be the one that transforms your collection, and your life, forever.